Howdy nerds, it's Buttons. Happy New Year, huh Buttons? We're a little bit late on our Happy New Year. It is January 5th today, and we got Lorwyn coming out and a few other bangers of One Piece, OP14, got Pokemon, got a lot of things coming in January. So the holiday cheer is over and it's back to work. What we're doing right now is we are actually auditing a lot of the inventory we have that's been building up. So this is one of the things that has been happening during this, this market of 2025 was definitely incredible, but it was also very frustrating because of the glut of products that came out. And that's what I want to talk about in this video, is kind of the new philosophy of how stores are handling product. And I actually think it's very short-sighted. And I'm going to try to prove it here in this video, that the markets are recovering a lot quicker, and it's things that are being sneaky. They're sneaking up on us, and if people will just be patient and not all chase after the hot items, I think there's better profits to be made on of course, the early bird gets the worm, but also the people that are patient can actually make incredible profits because of not chasing the same items like these. This is something that's been building up. This is another kind of sour topic for 2025, is the absolute collapse of collector boosters from Avatar and Spider-Man, and how Wizards of the Coast cannot just rely on IPs now, on Universes Beyond, to try to be a Final Fantasy set after set after set. So right now these are going under distro cost. So there was a huge Amazon dump for Avatar, and Avatar still seems to be one of the best selling sets of all time. Unlike Spider-Man, Avatar was something that was very well received, I would say. I mean, the neon cards are highly sought after. There should be no reason the collector boosters should be the price they are, except for the problem that I'm talking about. The kind of glut of products and everyone chasing the exact same products. And then when the emperor has no clothes, meaning there's way too much supply versus demand, it also crashes the hardest. So when the spotlight's on a particular product and it doesn't do that's kind of the catch-22 of where Final Fantasy collector boosters. They are overprinted. I mean, the amount of Final Fantasy collector boosters out there is just astronomical compared to other collector boosters. And the same can be said for Spider-Man and Avatar. And I wouldn't say they were bad selling sets whatsoever. It's just the fact that the supply just way outstretched the demand. There is not the demand for it, and all the chickens have now come home to roost because everyone that tried to, 3x their money or was relying on Avatar and Spider-Man to try to replicate Final Fantasy, well, now they are panicking and everyone dumps at the same time. Now, what I want to talk about in this particular video, as we've been auditing this, is I was surprised. So we're going just back and readjusting prices, because we've had these up on marketplaces right now. And so we're just going through and seeing what we have, what the price currently is, how much stock is still available at like the TCG level, like the TCG player level, the eBay level. And it gives us kind of a insight of where prices will be if current trends continue. So before we talk about that, let's talk about trends. So one thing that I have been seeing is the market is actually doing a lot better job of actually absorbing this glut than I previously anticipated. So a couple of exciting things, as I was very nervous. I took on a lot of inventory trying to build up numbers with distributors for things like Ixalan Commanders, Bloomborough Commanders, Final Fantasy Commanders, Fallout Commanders, Doctor Who, all this stuff that was riding on distribution level, because all the eyes, like I said, was on Final Fantasy. And lo and behold, Fallout's gone, and it's actually going up very quickly. So let's talk about this trend here. And as I stated earlier, with all the stores have changed their philosophy that nobody wants to be kind of stuck with the hot potato. Everyone is just trying to buy and have this cash flow of where, get everything out the door as soon as possible while it's hot, because no one wants to have patience to let the market recover or let these products kind of accrue in cost and generate profits that way. And that used to be kind of the tried, tested, and true business model. When I started the store, I actually got some advice from a store that had been operating for over 20 years. And they said their profit margins came with just what they would do is they would always keep back like a case or two cases of every product. And that's where their real profit margins would be, is within like a couple of years or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years down the road, they would sell this case of product that then would be, 4x, 5x, and it would definitely would accrue in value, or actually, I'm trying to think of the word here, I'm stuck on a brain fart. It would do a lot better job of going up versus like if you were to try to do that juggle of always getting into a product, cash flowing it out, getting into the next product, making those slim 10%, 15% margins, 5% margins now on TCG Player. Yes, if you can turn your $1,000 into $1,050 and turn that $1,050 into 1100, you know, and just keep juggling and juggling and juggling. Like, yes, that is a proven way to actually grow your capital, grow your profit margins, and grow everything else. But there has always been this other route where you just let these products kind of marinate, and you can make insane profit margins later on by not even going through that rat race. And that's one of the things that has been so frustrating with this year, is I've been engaged in that rat race of just trying to move capital, move capital, move capital. And it has just been an absolute exhaustion trying to keep up with these other stores, which I don't even know how they operate on such small numbers, and, you know, continue to do this with every new release where they just blow everything out without, you know, letting just the market kind of, like I say, kind of mature and let these products actually age a little bit before everyone just, you know, fighting for, you know, that lowest sale on TCG. So that's kind of what I saw with these things. So particularly, I've been looking at like Fallout Commanders. That was one that we could have ordered for months and months and months and months from distro, and it was always very stubborn at that 145 to 155 cost, and that's basically what stores pay for at distro. And there were so many listings, like there were pages and pages of everyone competing for that, trying to sell that product for 155. And lo and behold, it's not huge noise. It's not like you hear about buyouts or people talking about forums or huge demand for an old Commander product. It was a sale per day or 3 sales per day that eventually outstretched that bottom of everyone that was trying to undercut the seller by a penny. And then there were no listings. And then there was a massive jump from that 155 up to 185. And that's where you kind of see the prices have leveled off now, except for the fact now when people actually look at it, it's like, holy cow, I'm sure there's some sort of website where people get their information about like price changes of a particular product, and they see Fallout went from 155 to 185. There's a huge spike. What is going on? There must be huge demand. And it creates its own little self-fulfilling prophecy where all of a sudden there is a bunch of people now that are FOMOing and better, like, I better get my Fallout now before there isn't. And it might have some something to do with the Series 2 coming out on Netflix with Fallout, where, of course, that puts it in people's heads, so they buy Fallout. I'm not going to discount that, but it's not just Fallout. That's just the one that I've been noticing. But I've been noticing also that Bloomburrow and Ixalan, and even things like Tarkir Dragonstorm Commander decks are all following the same trend, where everyone got back in on that restock and started undercutting and competing at the bottom till there was just hundreds upon hundreds of listings all around that break-even price, because no one wants to lose money on a product, but it seems like everyone wants to compete at breaking even. So again, this is where this audit's at, and I was very surprised, and I think it's going to give us kind of the trend of going forward, and why I am changing my philosophy to be more patient again. So I'm definitely not going to try to overload myself with product, but I'm also not going to panic as much, because I do admit, and I'm a stubborn person, I'll admit outright that I want Magic the Gathering to fail, because I really don't think that Magic the Gathering can be fixed until it actually collapses, until the morons at Wizards of the Coast can just basically, without a doubt, be proven that their little business model does not work, that they can't rely on Universes Beyond and FOMOing and, you know, pump and dumping and all the you know, manufacturer scarcity, all this nonsense they engage in to try to get stores and players to kind of front the bill of their overprinting and over, you know, hyping of these sets. So what I'm saying with this whole thing, though, is a lot of these things that I have just come to think of have always been at distro level, like Lord of the Rings, like this guy here, this Lord of the Rings draft booster, or what were we looking at here? There was Wilds Eldraine. This is another one, Wilds Eldraine, which I do not think you should be buying Wilds Eldraine. There is a scheduled reprint for this, and they definitely would do another one. And this era of product have all just snuck up on us. And these are now in the, what, $200 range? I think Lord of the Rings, like draft and set boosters, are just crazy value. And again, this is a product that I had just been, you could order it from distributors for so long at that distro cost, and it didn't even change on TCG Player. There just was so much at distribution level, and all of a sudden it's gone. And it's these slow little increments, these slow little buys per day that just sneak up on everybody. And I think this is my new strategy. Instead of targeting the collector booster boxes or targeting all the hot products, this is the kind of the tried, tested, and true, that there actually is still a lot of demand for this era product. And it just shows the actual health of the game beyond all just, as I stated, the craze around the hot products, the FOMOing, the latest and greatest thing that are coming out. Now, I'm still nervous about Magic the Gathering because they keep trying to one-up themselves. So in 2026, I don't know what type of, like, if we're looking at Lorwyn spoilers right now, I'm like, geez, they put so much value into Lorwyn, into the additional slots with some of the reprints like Painted Servant and all the specialty treatments to just basically guarantee they sell the set. And it just seems so unsustainable. How many sets can they do this in a row before they run out of equity? And as I need to come up with a terminology for it, not really like a, you know, not FOMOing. It's like a collectability creep, or like, oh, you better get in. This is the set that has the best thing ever. This has the prettiest Charizard ever printed, and there will never be another one printed this good. So it gets everyone like, oh, I better get into this. And then the next set they do something even cooler. And again, as I stated with my reference to Pokemon is the same thing. It seems like every one of these game products, they keep trying to push the envelope, and it does make a little squeamish for older product, because this product is actually, with these slots, with like the set booster era, I think is still pretty good. Like the Wilds Will Drain, because you can still rely on that reprint slot. Because if there's one thing in Magic that is a tried, tested, and true, is demand always outstretches supply for cards that are kind of evergreen in Commander or Modern, and you just have to wait long enough, and those will go back up if they don't see a reprint. And I think what the slots in these particular eras will have some, absolute bangers in them that will guarantee they sell. The product that is going to be lacking, I think, is going to be this era product. This is the stuff that I'm still quite nervous about, because there's really no reason to be opening like a Guilds of Ravnica, because there was nothing special besides foils in this set. So basically, all you're getting out of like a draft booster box from Guilds of Ravnica would be the value of the particular cards, and in a day and age where they reprint things like crazy and make secret layers and specialty versions of everything, this kind of product just gets crept as time goes on. But this era product, like the Wilds Will Drain from a few years past, I think is definitely a better buy. So some things I've been noticing, like new Phyrexia, or Phyrexia LB1, that has been slowly creeping up. What is still available at distribution. There is things like Ixalan that continue to be trickled in, that you can get at or near distribution cost still. And I would even sleep on things like Tarkir Dragonstorm if this just had its reprint, so it's at its basically all-time low. And as I stated, there's every store, and every dog and their mom is competing at the bottom for that, undercutting the other seller by 1 cent. And if you actually look at the sales data, these things are still moving quite fast, and same things like Final Fantasy. And yes, I'm even very, very bullish on Spider-Man and Avatar, and even things like Modern Horizons 3. None of this era of product was bad in the kind of the whole overall. If you look at the last 30 years of Magic, these products have just all been pretty much bangers. Like, again, we can debate the overprinting of it. We can debate like the reception of a lot of this era, because everyone's trained that every set should be Final Fantasy, and that's just, of course, not sustainable. But time will tell with this era product, and like I said, I'm a lot more excited going in this tax return season than I was like a month ago, kind of being a Debbie Downer with the state of Magic and kind of how Pokemon is sluggish and starting to fall off, and I'm like doom and glooming that maybe I'm just I have too much inventory here, and I'm going to get hit with another 2023. Can we even be able to survive another one of those? But yeah, it's looking up here. And that's kind of my advice to everyone that is like a patron of mine, or if they're in the market for actually buying and holding on to stuff. Like right now is looking pretty good week after week, month after month, of how much is actually moving. And these are the type of markets that I actually like. I don't like the Pokemon market of 2025 where everything was just immediately bought out. Like the scalpers scalping to scalpers, and all stores were cleaned out, and you couldn't actually like even find anything at distribution level. I like these kind of mixed markets where you have to kind of be picky and choosy of what you actually purchase into. And some of my things that I was kicking myself off because I kind of made a move on pre-release, because pre-release packs are something that are quite unique. They are basically just, in this era, they have your play boosters in them, but they also do have, they have an experience. They are in these boxes that are, very stomachable. They're very easy purchases for every, collectors, players alike. Tend to like them. So I kind of have been pushing a lot of my, or what I do here is a lot of this stuff is just like overstock of things that didn't sell during that era, but I don't have any sort of like need that I need to blow it out to recoup capital, because I think these things are like better purchases than something like an Avatar collector booster. So now I'm starting to be rewarded with some of this era stuff like Lost Caverns and Bloomburrow that have spiked up. And I don't think it's just a matter of time before we start to see even this other era. Like there are some really good products that I think are being slept on right now, like the Spider-Man pre-release packs, for example. I know that Amazon had a massive, or not Amazon, there was some seller on TCG Player that was selling them for like 18 bucks a piece, so well below distro cost for Spider-Man. And I should have moved on them. It's just kind of a philosophy of mine where I try to buy directly. Like you save on fees and all other nonsense by going to just through distribution and still build up the numbers. So I always I try not to engage in the eBay or the TCG Player market like I probably should, because oftentimes I can find it cheaper there than I can even at distro. But anyway, I thought it was just kind of a fun little video to do, and just kind of tell you I'm back. We're still around. We're getting over the holiday kind of slump here and back in the swing of things. We have a lot of things coming out in the next few weeks that we have to be on top of, but I'll try to get back to the kind of the daily vlogs of what's going on at the store. Some of the goals I have for 2026 is definitely revive the other channels. I think that this sort of talk is more geared for the Rogue Market channel, which is basically a dead channel, and I need to revive it because I actually do want to break down what I'm talking about on this video and kind of show you the proof is in the pudding for kind of sales data for, like I said, like even this era of things. And as I stated earlier, I think I need to flesh out this idea a little bit more. Where the market has changed. The market has changed where we used to have stores that were in it for the long haul that would, as I stated, the person that when I was starting Gone Rogue Games that wanted to give me advice about, you know, just they told me not to chase that cash flow, to try to like set a few things aside, and that's where you build up. That's where your retirement is building up on these things that are tried, tested, and true. I think that at that point they had like, what they have, like, speaking of like Lorwyn that's coming out, they had original like cases still left of Lorwyn that then sell for like, you know, $400 a booster box, things like that. That's where we could do the math actually, and maybe that store owner could be proven wrong that appreciation did the items appreciation didn't even match inflation, or what they could be doing while, you know, juggling the cash flow. But you know, if it is something that is feasible to set aside a few things later down the road to actually get these insane profits, then that's a lot less of a headache than trying to, because there's a lot involved when you're trying to push out every set after set. Like I say, like these businesses now that are all about just washing as soon as possible. So they get a new set and it's like, okay, just sell it for whatever the market can handle, will sell. And they hope that, you know, 1 out of every 7 sets will be a Final Fantasy, and that's where their margins come from. Whereas, you know, now the people that would have kept on these Lord of the Rings, like all these things that were at distro cost for so long, I mean, these are insane profits at this point. We're talking like $300 a box for like draft boosters and set boosters for Lord of the Rings, which not too long ago were down the 150s, and you could still order them at distro. And so that's something I'm noticing, is that this era is being stripped. And do not wait. That's my advice to people that are looking to kind of make a move. If you're just a collector, if you're looking for long-term holds on these, do not wait, because right after the Fallout, like I had Fallout on, we have this sheet that I keep track of like what I call unclaimed, or, you know, a lot of people stiff me. So the order stuff. So how my operation works is it's supposed to be money up front, but just to try to make things more streamlined, if people have like a desire for something, they message me, I'll immediately order it. And then they'll fill out an order form. And then when I get it, that's usually when I'll then reach out to them for payment. And then once they send payment, then I'll send them the product. But oftentimes I'll get like stiffed. I'll get new patrons that sign up and then quit. And then I'll have all their orders, because of course I'm not going to send stuff before I, you know, collect payment for it. So all these orders that then are unclaimed or unpaid for, and it starts to build up a bit of an inventory. And so this is where a lot of this stuff was coming from, and Fallout was one of them. And I had it on this unclaimed sheet for distro cost of it. And then I started noticing a bunch of orders for it. And so I went and checked the prices, and then checked it wasn't available at distribution. And how fast things move now with Fallout being available at all, you know, all 5 distributors that sell Magic had plenty of it, to then out of the blue, gone. So yeah, that's my advice is we are kind of in that mixed market now, where it's a kind of a hot cold market, where we are seeing like these panic selling of things like Spider-Man Play boosters. We're seeing things like the stagnation of products for years and years and years. As I stated, Fallout was stagnant for a long time, and we're not seeing these nice little, oh, it's worth 150, then 155, then 160, 165. Nope, what we're seeing is 145 to 200. There's no in between. And so you just, in this market, you just can't be caught with your pants down. You got to be kind of on top of it. And as I stated, I'm more excited because this is more of my kind of expertise, is the daily checking of the inventories of what these other stores are selling it for, what distribution has available, talking to distributors. And I think it kind of gives us a leg up of what I call kind of the soulless basement sellers, or these the fake stores that aren't in it for the long term, that are just using TCGs as like the latest like Labubu get rich quick thing, you know, milk it while they can. and then move on to the next thing. So I'm excited because I think this is the market that the strong will survive, the more wise will survive, and the people that are definitely in it for the long term will survive. So anyway, go ahead and check out the Rogue Market channel in a few weeks when I get it back up if you are interested in this sort of talk, because I'm going to be breaking down kind of the sales data for a lot of these things and what I think are going to be good buys right now. So things that I pick off the top of my head is like new Phyrexia, or Phyrexia Albury 1. Keep calling it new Phyrexia. Phyrexia Albury 1 is already now on, like, some distributors, once they get low supply, will start to limit stores to like 6 per week or 12 per week. So I noticed that one was just put on a cap of how many you can buy per week. So definitely Albury 1 is something I wouldn't wait on. I would not wait on Bloomberg Commanders. And this isn't just saying because I have a garage full of Bloomberg Commanders. I'll be completely transparent. I have a garage full of Bloomberg Commanders and Ixalan. I did have a garage full of Ixalan Commanders, but yeah, I'm already sold out of them. The people have already bought Ixalan Commanders. As soon as they started to show movement, and as soon as they're out of distribution, which they are, there are no distributors that have Ixalan Commanders at the moment for sale. And that was something that was completely, like, you could order to your heart's content a couple weeks ago for Ixalan Commanders, and how quickly the market has changed to where it's completely gone from distribution tells us we're in one of those markets again where it's a sneaky market. It's something that is not, so sexy or crazy where it's so predictable that everything's just going to sell out, that every Final Fantasy is going to, triple X, or every Pokemon product is going to triple X. It sneaks up on you. And so, yeah, that's where you have to be kind of savvy in this particular market. So Bloomburrow, I wouldn't wait on that. I wouldn't wait on Final Fantasy. I know that Final Fantasy Commander decks had a massive reprint. I doubt they will reprint them again, because Wizards of the Coast does. They definitely do check this and see if they had to dump it on Amazon, and then they probably shouldn't, re-trigger another reprint unless it goes, through the roof, unless these Commander decks get up to the $300 range. So I think they're very, very safe right now. The amount that sell per day is still quite high. And we are getting some Commander decks out of Lorwyn, but we aren't, I think we're just getting 2. So it's still, the Commander has an appetite for these pre-constructed decks, because we haven't had, it's been a few sets since we've had Commander. We had Spider-Man, we had Avatar, and now we have Lorwyn that just has a small release of Commander. So I think that there's going to be, those are by far one of the best purchases for the casual player. We personally here at our store, that's the thing we sell the most, is people will come in and want to get into Commander, and they want to buy a precon because it's an easy way to start. It's also, precons are like, oh, they have the Soul Ring, they have the Arcane Signet. If people are like, oh, I want to build this new Commander with this color combination, well, I'm just going to pick up a precon for the mana base and the artifacts go with it, because I'm too lazy to buy new pieces of it. That happens way more than you think, and that actually leads to the demand of these products a lot more than a sensible person would just be like, let's make a cart on TCG Player, maybe buy 10 Arcane Signets for my future decks. But the average player, they're like, nah, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy this precon and take what I need out of the pieces of it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this kind of discussion. We'll get back to talking about the day-to-day operations of the store and any other topics that come to mind here. But thought I'd just again give a quick update that we are still chugging along here, and as I'm auditing this inventory, we're gonna get it all up and see where it's all at. Like I said, I got some pretty lofty goals for 2026. We want to get a website up. I want to start taking this online store more seriously, and start building up those distribution numbers. Because I think this is going to be a good time, because I think 2026 is going to be the year of consolidation. Consolidation in games, consolidation in stores, consolidations of scalpers. I think that the scalper era is over. I don't think it's going to be very feasible for just the get-rich-quickers, the flippers, to be able to operate like they used to. I've already noticed a huge exodus in Gundam of people that have kind of left that market. So one thing I do on my Patreon too is I do a list of people that are interested in products, and that way when I get them, I can just reach out to those people and say, hey, you're on my list. I got this new product in. And I had so many people ask to be removed from Gundam because, like I said, nobody has patience right now. And I think that to all of you have, I'm going to try to be kind of careful without being sensitive, without being insulting. But I think that was the stupidest move to actually get out of the Gundam list, because Gundam, so basically what happened is Gundam had a reprint for their second set. And as I stated earlier with this market has no patience. So it cratered immediately. It cratered the price of Gundam, went all the way down from the 140s or 150s. I think the Gundam set 2 was all the way up to the 200s or 300s at some point, wasn't it? And here, let me give some context about Gundam because I'm a Gundam player. So I dabble in Gundam, so I do know the meta. I do know the basic gist of Gundam. Set 2 was lackluster compared to Set 1, but one of the major issues with Set 2 is it was like kind of a teaser set. It kind of teased at what these kind of new factions, new abilities could be once they get support. And so Gundam Set 2, I think, is the biggest sleeper ever because it's going to get support. These cards are going to see play eventually. The thing about Set 1, it was a pretty fleshed out, tried, like they put more effort, I think, into really tuning these sort of, like I said, factions and strategies that you got enough what you needed out of Set number 1. And it was more powerful than Set number 2. Like the strategies that are still dominating tournaments are from Set number 1. So there's still a massive demand for Set number 1. And Gundam is very inaccessible because they're very expensive from Set number 1. And then Set number 2 just doesn't have a lot to offer. It has bits and pieces that go into certain decks, but it doesn't have the same kind of pound for pound oomph that Set number 1 does. And so when that restock of Set number 2 happened, the market kind of panicked and everyone started selling at or below distro costs, and all of the online sellers started competing for that last cent. And now we have a glut of products with Gundam. But if you actually look at the sales data, it's all going to be stripped in a month or two. And there's going to be another set coming out, sure, but there's just still not a lot of Gundam in the scope of things to actually satisfy the market once it becomes hot again. And especially if Set 2 gets support in the future with things like starter decks, and because that's something that Bandai always does, is they'll create a starter deck if there's a certain faction or strategy that doesn't currently see play. A lot of times they'll, like in One Piece now, they create a whole Egghead starter deck. So all of your Egghead cards are now relevant. They weren't relevant before, now they're going to be relevant. Gundam will do that as well. So guys, calm down. I cannot believe the attention span of something that was so hot a month ago is now, again, something that is not sought after whatsoever. And we need to get back to the reality of things, that things take time. Things take patience. You can't, this whole get-rich-quick thing has got to, this whole gambling epidemic that we have is, people have to come back down to earth of reasonable gains year to year, reasonable investments, reasonable purchases, reasonable expectations. And yeah, as I stated, the market has no patience for that. And you mark my words, Spider-Man Play Boosters are going to recover. They're not going to get a reprint. The pre-release kits from Spider-Man are not going to get a reprint. Avatar collector boosters are not going to get a reprint. Eventually, these things, if trends continue the same, and I can't believe this is the same Kevin that was a couple months ago, the sky is falling, they're overprinting, Wizards of the Coast needs to crash, is actually stating this. But as we're getting new data, as I'm looking at trends, I don't see any other outcome, especially with this kind of hot market we're going into tax season, where these sort of products that are considered like cold and bad and awful, the Gundams, the Avatars, I can't see another scenario but having them follow the trend of like Lord of the Rings draft and set boosters. Like, it's proven, the market's proven that these things sell. So just give some time and patience. Don't leave the Gundam list. You're going to kick yourself for it. Thanks for watching.